Welcome back to Behind the Songs, the Grammy Museum Experience Prudential Center's online chat and performance series featuring artists, songwriters, and producers discussing the stories behind some of our favorite songs. My name is Mark Conklin. I'm your host, also the Director of Artist Relations and Programming for the Grammy Museum Experience. And if you like real, by God, country music, well, today is a great day for you. We have the ACM and CMA award-winning singer and songwriter Ashley McBryde, whose latest album, Neverwill, has been nominated for Best Country Album at the upcoming 63rd Annual Grammy Awards. Ashley, welcome to Behind the Songs.
Isn't that a fun thing to say? That
Amazing.
it's been nominated for Country Album of the Year at the Grammys. Like it never gets old. Of course, it's the best thing that can ever happen to you, of course. But I never get tired of introducing myself each morning while I'm making coffee
That's great.
as the
Just
Grammy nominated Ashley. I mean, I live alone, but I still say it.
That's right. Now it's an interesting time to have released an album. Yours came out right at the beginning of
Yeah,
this
right. Like
whole thing.
at the tippy top, man.
And you were out. Were you touring at the time? Was that were you kind of in the motion of it, or what was happening?
We had just gotten home. We were touring with Luke Combs. We'd been touring with Miranda Lambert, and we'd just gotten home for like a week break or like a weekend break thing, and then everything went down.
Yeah.
And we had to stay home.
I was going to have to ask you before we get into the music. Hosting the CMT Awards, what was that like? Did you ever expect you're going to do something like that? And
It's so much fun. I mean, I've always wanted to because some of the folks I love, like Carol Burnett, Betty White, like improv comedy gals that I just really respect. I thought, man, it'd be really fun to present an award. And I was hoping that somebody would ask me to present an award. And they asked me to host with Kane and with Sarah for the CMT Awards. We had so much fun. Of course, we couldn't be together, but
right.
we got to film, in the same locations at different times, except for Sarah. She was, of course, in LA. But I had a blast doing that. And then, lucky me, I draw the wild card where I get the limited audience that's live, and they're all masked and they've all been tested and everything. And we were like super far apart, but it was awesome. I loved it. I want to do it again.
Right. That was great. I had a chance to watch it, and you seemed like a natural at it. So hopefully that's something you'll be able to continue to do.
Yeah, I had to learn how to read a teleprompter because I thought it was going to outrun me,
Right.
but it doesn't. It won't. Like you read at the speed you read, and it goes up as it goes up
Right.
as you say it. I just had to learn that you have to slow down.
Right. Well, we'll jump in now a little bit to the music. As we said, Neverwill has been nominated. Tell me a little bit about overall as the album went. Like, what period are you kind of working on this? Like, what was it? 19 that you were working on this and putting it all together? Were you
Yeah,
kind of writing it on the road? A little bit about how you came to put it all together.
it was. So it was 19, I think. It was either 18 or 19 that we're putting the record together. And then we go in. So the first record we recorded in 2 days, which is ridiculous and preposterous.
Including vocals? You did that in 2 days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
We did go back one extra day to go overdub some harmonies, but on the Neverwill record, which was not called Neverwill in its inception, we didn't know we were making a Neverwill record. We just knew it was one of the songs. We had 2 weeks, and we still work kind of on the same schedule. We'd like to go in about 4 in the afternoon and eat hot wings or like whatever you would do in a bar, because we're a bar band. That's what we've always been, and you kind of do that thing. And sometimes you have to do it at 8 o'clock in the morning, which hot wings is rough. And we would go in each day, and just Jay, who is a brilliant, brilliant man, would ask me, "What do you want to do today?" "Oh, I want to do I don't know. Let's do this song. Let's do that song." And we would do it, run it a couple times, always in the red, but never expecting it to go to the record. And I think that's why Neverwill wound up so good, is because we were always in the red and never thinking about making the record. In fact, we cut each song without listening back ever.
Really?
So we'd cut it 3 times, next song, cut it 3 times, like do it 3 times, next song, do it 3 times, next song. The next day, grab the next 3 songs. And there is this photo. Do we have a vinyl around here? Probably in there. There is this photo in the vinyl version of the record that is all of us, and it's all the guys kind of looking down, and I'm probably smoking a cigarette or like holding an ashtray or something. But it was the first time we heard the record. So we're on the very last day of cutting, and Jay says, "You want to listen like what you've done?" Yeah, I do. So we finally listened to it. Oh, I got it. Thanks.
Out of nowhere, that's pretty good.
So this photo that you see in the very bottom is the first time any of us heard this record.
Wow.
This is right before we record Neverwill. So we listened, and you can see us all like, yeah, kind of critiquing ourselves. And then right after that, we recorded Styrofoam, which is kind of like a boop, don't take yourself too seriously kind of song. So that photo is this moment, and you can see, I'll try to show you. It's hard because he's in a beanie. Jay Joyce's head is right here in the foreground.
Right.
And so we listened to the record, and we're kind of wide-eyed and like super excited. And he goes, "And this is what happens when you don't overthink. You just make a record. Now let's do our last two songs." And working with Jay Joyce is unlike anything else in the entire world. I can't even imagine. I mean, there are so many great producers in what we do, but I can't imagine working with anybody else.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned kind of how you were kind of recording and always in the red, and I wanted to ask you about that because the first song I was going to ask you about was Sparrow, and the intro of that song is interesting because it sounds like you guys are kind of jamming, and then it was kind of the record button was going. Is that kind of how it unfolded?
Well, that's how it was written. It was me and, golly, we were at a writer's retreat. And so back in the day when my arms weren't covered in tattoos, the only ones you could see were these little sparrows. And there's one on each arm. And one is flying away from home, and one is going back to home. And we'd had the idea forever to talk about why a sparrow is so important, why a swallow is so important. But we're sitting here at this thing, and it's me and Brandy Clark and a lot of other folks. It's like 4 other folks. And we said, telephones and postcards. I love to send postcards. I'll call you from the lobby bar on Tuesday. And my mama, I mean, I can pull it out of the freezer right now. My mama sends me okra every time they get a good crop. And how's the okra coming up? God, I wish I had me some to save me a plate. And the song just falls out the way it's supposed to fall out, writing wise. But then we go to record it, and you're looking at here in the photo that I just showed you, Quinn Hill, who's 27 now, 28. Been playing with me since he was 19 years old. You're looking at Chris Harris. He and I are the oldest members of the band, and he's just a few years younger than me. Matt Helmkamp, who's been with me for going on 3 years now, and Sancho, who's been with me for going on 4 years now. We have mamas, and some of our mamas are sick and battling diseases. And some of our daddies and mamas are great, right? Some of them are in great health. But we miss stuff. We miss birthdays. We miss surgeries. We miss funerals sometimes. We miss holidays sometimes. But the main thing that stays consistent with everybody in our family and in our families is that they pray for us all the time, every morning. And they want us to do this. Yeah, they hate it. They miss it when you're in Scotland, England, Ireland, but they want you to be there too. And so for me, Sparrow is one of the most special songs on the record because it really gets to envelop the way we feel about what we do and the way our families feel. And I even include it on the liner notes in the record. Thank you to the spouses and loved ones of the people that I get to travel with, because you loan them to me and you entrust me to bring them back to you.
Right. Now, by the way, who's playing slide guitar on that?
That is Matt Helmkamp. We call him Moose. Um, his father is a steel guitar player, and he's got this really cool Fender with an old B bender on it. And he is, I mean, a lot of folks play slide really well. I mean, Derek Trucks, just to name one. Um, but for me, with the people that I've played with directly, Matt Helmkamp is the most tasteful slide player. He is just so good at what he does.
Yeah, I was gonna say it had the Jackson Brown These Days vibe to it when he was playing it. It had that. It was
Oh,
very
that's such a compliment. Thank you.
yeah, very emotional. And I had to ask you about the ending. So here, I was so curious: was this in the writing or in the arrangement or in the recording? When you get to the end and you do the chorus and you go to the flat 7 chord, it's got almost that bluegrass. You certainly end on the bluegrass thing, which I know you have a background in. When did that come up? Was that in the writing portion of it, or was that when you were in the studio and you guys were working out the arrangement?
So before we record a record, we go to this little place in East Nashville called the Co-op. It's basically a cinder block garage with really cool drapes and curtains. Pardon me. And there's no, like, there is a PA, but it's not fancy. We're
Right.
not going to a studio to rehearse our record and arrange it. So I mean, I'm used to playing it. I have to hand this over to Chris Harris, and he's gonna kill it. And of course, Quinn, when we come in the first time with Sparrow, Quinn's gonna put it so far back. It's like riding in a Cadillac, and all you got to do is sit in it. We're gonna get there, and we get to the end. We're like, how do we end this song? Oh, harmonies. Everyone in my band can sing, so they should, right? It should just be Sparrow. All right, work it out. Let's all start singing. It's Sparrow. And everyone just starts piling in. Of course, it's mostly me, Matt, and Chris, but we're all singing it. You don't see it, but Quinn's got his microphone back there too on the drums, and he's banging it out and going, Sparrow, because his mama wants him doing this. My mama wants me doing this. It kind of messes us up, like, emotionally,
Right.
to do it. And there's not much you can do to follow that.
Moving on to another song on the album, which is very interesting, is Stone. And I'm
Mm.
curious about this as far as how does the concept for this evolve? Is it Stone, and then what does that mean, or is it like, I'm just curious about how you guys landed on this idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't have, I would never have called this song Stone. I would have never had the idea to say Stone. What happened was my brother ended his own life. He was a veteran, and he killed himself. And it's like, this is 6 months later. He died in June, and it's like January. And I'm with Nicolette Hayford, somebody I trust, somebody I write all kinds of stuff with, funny stuff, sad stuff, dark stuff, don't care. And I said, man, you know what? I'm really, like, I'm pretty pissed off at Clay, because he's got one son, right? And now that Clay's gone, I'm going to have to be there. There's 6 of us kids. Now there's 5, right? I said, I'm going to have to be there. What a big mess, man. When that guy buys a house, I got to go. When he decides to get married, which he did, I got to be there. When he has a baby, that's my job, because Clay left me with such a mess to clean up, and I'm just pissed. And Nicolette said, we need to go outside and smoke, because I'm not going to let you write a song about your brother that's out of anger. I won't let you do it. And the whole reason we had the inclination to write this is that we both have lost a sibling, and both brothers were veterans, even though our brothers died in very, very different ways. So we go outside and we smoke, and we're just laughing. And I'm just talking about Clay and what a jerk he was. And I started laughing when I cackle, when it sounds like Clay. And then I started crying. And she was like, grab a guitar. Go grab a guitar. You're so mad at your brother because you didn't pay attention to how alike you were until he was gone. I mean, when he passed away, he was 53, 52, and I was 35. Like, it's a pretty big age gap. So we were never the super best of friends, but he was the guy that taught me how to skip rocks. how to pop a wheel on a dirt bike. He was that guy. And then, and I'm tearing up now, like just thinking about it. Like, man, and he sounded like, that's what he felt like. That's what he sounded like. And so that's just how the song happened. I can't make it any prettier than that. It's just how it happened.
There's a line in there that is so smart, and I'm what I know it's sometimes these happy accidents, but when you're talking about the Stones, you say they're stepping kinds, and I was like, oh my goodness, they're step brothers and sisters, they're stepping stones. Like this, that
exactly
moment
right.
is so what an amazing moment that is. But that's great writing. It's a great song, great song.
Thank you. And then just to put a big exclamation point, I don't want to say an expletive, at the end of it, I said, hey Nicolette, if I get to put this on the record, I want to say that it's for Sergeant Clay McBryde and for, I don't know David's rank, her brother, and I don't know his last name. So we've already written this whole thing about throwing ones, right? And I go, I'm sorry, I don't know David's last name. And she said his last name was Stone. Did you just trick me
Right.
into writing this? She goes, no, it just seemed like, well, one of the things I said to her when we started the song was seeing my brother's headstone nearly took 2 birds out with that one stone. And then she just jumps on it and then just doesn't tell me that her
Right.
brother's last name was Stone until we've written the whole thing. We're already crying and smoking cigarettes. But I do feel good about honoring our brothers in that song. I think we did a good job.
When did you first know that you had, Springsteen called it his superhero gift, his superhero talent, where you could put words and music together? Like, when did you kind of first know that that was a thing that was yours?
I was pretty little. I used to make up songs about what I did that day, like checking the mail, or I always grew up in the country, so I was like a long ways to go check the mail. And I would make up songs about that. And I had a Willie Nelson impression when I was like really small. There was a Taco Bell commercial I used to sing as Willie Nelson, which that's what it was. God, I wish we had enough time for me to like sit here and hash it out what it was. But I knew. I told my mom when I was 5, I want to live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I want to write and sing country songs. And that changes as I get a little bit older. Oh, I'd like to be an astronaut. I'd like to be a pilot. I'd like to be a teacher. And this one sticks. I want to be a teacher someday. But I also want to go to Nashville and live there and write songs for country radio. And Mama never, she never discounted any of it. I knew, man, I was still in a car seat. Mama has this story. I'm still in a car seat, and she's listening to Highway 40 Blues, Ricky Skaggs, in the car. And I'm singing with it. And she turned around and said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm singing the harmony. I was still in a car seat when I knew this is what I want to do for a living.
So
I didn't even know what a living was.
But that's what I was wondering. Was there anyone in your family doing it? Like how does that come to, how do you know about Nashville to begin with?
So everybody in my family, my father was a preacher and a physician. Mama stayed at home, raised us kids. I got a brother that's a cop, a firefighter, one that's in the Navy. I got a sister that works at a doctor's office. Like we're apple pie. We love to be apple pie in my family. But I was 12 and I heard this on an oldies station, Cool 104.7, all oldies all the time. I'm your DJ, Johnny Mitchell. And it goes, from the corners of the country, right? Lacey J. Dalton sings 16th Avenue, and I hear it come across the radio waves. And I say, Mama, where's 16th Avenue? Well, it's in Nashville, Tennessee. I said, can you take me there? And she started taking me there from 12 years old. We'd go to the Spigma thing, like the bluegrass thing. And I loved it, man. I got to sing with Carl Jackson. I got to sing with Petticoat Junction. I got to sing with Suzanne Cox, just in a hotel lobby just playing guitar and stuff. But once that bug hit, that's it.
Hmm.
It's all over with.
I'm curious, was Nashville what you thought it would be? Like, how different is it from when you're a kid? You have this, like, how close or different is it for you?
Is Nashville what you thought it would be? How close or different is it from when you were a kid? You know, I never did get to write songs on 16th Avenue. I wrote songs on 17th Avenue. But super cool. It's everything you think it's going to be. And it's way better than you think it's going to be. And it's way worse. Sorry, got some dog hair. It's way worse than you think it's going to be, too. And there's going to be some really gnarly, hard times. But every single one of those is a little inch closer to good times. I love the city. I can't imagine ever leaving the city. Even as a bluegrass kid, knowing that I was going to, move here and then maybe play at the Station Inn. It's still standing, man. And it's in the middle of a bunch of high rises, and it's everything you think it's going to be, and it's everything you don't think it's going to be. And there's also cheese fries at a lot of the bars. Like, as if that wasn't enough, there's cheese fries.
There's the song that on the album, the title track, Neverwill. That's interesting because it kind of ties in a little bit to the experience of chasing this thing and having people. When I was it's so funny because before I was even kind of looking and listening to the song, there was something I wanted to ask you about, and I'll just read the line. But you got to play the game if you ever want to play to the big crowds. You've gone as far as you'll ever go, unless you're willing to sell out, girl, sell out. Well, I didn't.
Well, I didn't.
Don't. I never will. And so, how has that been for you? I'd love to ask you about the song, but just in general. There's always this push to do more. There's always a push to do these certain songs, to play certain crowds and that whole thing. But you've been able to kind of maintain your own thing. Is it tough balancing those things? Do you have those conversations with yourself where you're like, maybe I could do this or that?
Well, and that push has to exist. It has to be there. You must do this. You must do that. But it has to come from here first. It can't be somebody telling you, do this because do this.
Right.
It has to be, I feel the need. I have to do this. So initially, when I told folks I wanted to play music for a living, they went, well, you probably won't. Well, then I started doing it. And then I'm playing in bars, like in Memphis, 6 nights a week. Yeah, but it's just bars. Yeah, but that's like, where else are you going to get this degree?
Right.
And then you go to theaters, amphitheaters, arenas. Now we're in arenas. And those same people who said you'd never do it to begin with, and now it's just bars. And now you're in arenas. They go, yeah, well, you're probably rich now and you're an asshole. There is no pleasing any of these people.
Right.
So I just had to realize that, man, I never did listen to those folks. I didn't listen when they said I couldn't do it. I didn't listen when they say, you ain't nothing because you're playing in bars. I didn't listen when they said, you're probably an asshole now. I didn't. I still don't. And I probably never will. And now that I've had this thought, I owe it to my band, my family, anyone who's ever heard me sing in a pizza bar or like a burger bar. I owe it to the guy that owns Sully's Pizza in Jonesboro, Arkansas, to say I didn't and I don't and I never will. And the song happened really honestly. Like I said, we were sitting in the house and Chris and Blue and I wrote the lyrics based off this that Matt had sent over. And it was a guitar track and a bass track. And so we started writing it. And then I realized while we were arranging it together, this song would never have come together unless all of us meant this. It's my dog, Opie. And I told them the day we cut it, I said, if we're going to cut this, we have to make a promise to each other and our anyone that ever finds our music that we didn't and we don't and we never will. And man, it's one of the most powerful things I've ever written. And I'm just glad it came to visit me.
um, I always like to ask people from Nashville if you had a dream Bluebird round. Now you could put together a Bluebird round. Now this is anybody all time. It's
How many?
you and three others. I'll give you
Me and
four if you need
three?
it. Three or
You know,
four
me and
others.
three others? No, I'm
Yeah.
totally fine. Me and
Okay.
three others.
Yeah. So who is your
Oh my
all time
God.
dream round?
All right, so we're gonna play the Bluebird songwriters.
Yes.
They will
Songwriter
wipe
it could be artist songwriters, but yeah,
they
songwriters.
will
Sure.
wipe the floor with me. But I want to sit in the round with John Prine, Guy Clark, and Lucinda Williams. Just let it fly, man. Let them wipe the floor with me. My songs will be kindergarten compared to theirs, but I would love it that way.
I actually talked to Jeremy Bussey. I know who you, the girl going nowhere,
Oh
and
well, bless your heart, you've talked to Bussy.
but he had mentioned that I think it was Guy Clark had passed away the day that you guys wrote that song. Is that right?
The day we wrote "Girl Going Nowhere," yeah, man. And I hadn't met Bussy yet, and I was driving on. There's a roundabout in Nashville. It has this big statue of a bunch of naked people in the middle of the
Yes.
roundabout. It's annoying, isn't it? And you shouldn't be checking your phone anyways, but I'm going around. I check my phone, and it says songwriter Guy Clark passes away at, and I just started crying because one of my goals in life is to smoke a cigarette, not even write a song. I know I'm not good enough. Smoke a cigarette with Guy Clark. Then I find out he's gone. So I get to the office, our little building, and I'm just crying. And I've got mascara everywhere. And I walk into this back room where Jeremy Bussey is, and he's like, "Ooh, like she looks like hell." And I told him what happened, man. You're gonna have to forgive me. My hero died this morning. I just found out. And he goes, "Well, go get your shit together and come back." So I come back, and he tries to diffuse me, right? He goes, "I'm from Alabama. Where are you from?" "Well, I'm from Arkansas." "All right, how old were you moved to town?" "I was 23. "How old were you?" "I was 40. Like, we just start trading these stories back and forth. Like, what happened in your circle of friends when you said you were going to do this thing? I said, "They told me I was wasting my time." And so we start having this conversation. He goes, "Hey, you played the Opry?" This is about a year and a half before the Opry ever knows my name. And I said, "No, I have not, but I will." And he said, "So all we have to do today is write what you want to sing someday at the Opry and write it in such a way that Guy Clark wouldn't be pissed off if he had to hear it."
And there's a great video of you playing that song, I guess, for the first time at the Opry, which
And
is
that's,
was,
yep.
and that's a great moment. And I know you change, you alternate the line a little bit. It's talking about being in the circle with the Gibson,
There
but
was one line we wrote just specifically for my J45 in that circle, which was, "I'll
yeah,
step into a circle with a Gibson in my hand."
yeah, great moment, great song, and it goes back a little bit. Kind of going back to when you were the first time I remember hearing about you was, oh, Eric Church, this favorite singer, and there was this thing.
Yeah.
That was the moment where it was like, who is this? And Bible in a 44 was specifically a song that he'd called you up
Hmm.
on stage to sing. Tell us a little bit about that song, how it came to be, and what it means to you.
Well, I started writing it in my truck one night, um, driving, I mean, from God knows where to who knows where. And then I got to my mama's house and I started writing this other verse. And I had all these pieces of this song that some were my dad and some were my grandpa, my papa. And I thought, well, no man is so good that no man is this good, right? We have to put these two men together. My father always told me when I was growing up that as long as I've got a Bible and a rifle, I'm living my life right. He kind of lived that way. He was a animal conservationist, loved to cultivate life. Um, so I have all these parts, but it's like a 6-minute song. And then I sit down with a couple of friends and It was Terry Joe Box and Patrick Savage. And I played it for them. And they said, there's nothing wrong with the song. Why don't we take this verse out or that verse out? And then why don't we do bum, 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 bum? The way you're singing, you see through loud like an old screen door. And it just happened that way. And I mean, the song was probably done before I took it to them, but it wasn't right. And it could have been a song that never got cut. It could have been a song that never went on one of my records because it was too long. But thanks to those two, I mean, you got to trust your friends to help you sit down and put it in a box and then put a bow on the top. And they really did. They really brought it home with me and for me.
I was going to ask you that about co-writing. Just kind of for you, was that an easy process to get into? The first, because usually you start off, you're writing in your room
No.
and you're doing your thing. What was that
Mm-hmm.
like, and how does it compare like to kind of where it is now?
I wish I wrote solo more now, just to remember that I can do it. But when you first move to town and you're like, I write all my songs by myself and I'm gonna do this all on my own. And then you start to write with other folks and you realize a few things. Your ego gets left at the door. The right idea gets the room. All right. So idea gets the room. The right rhyme gets in the line. The right line gets in the song. The right song goes on the record. Everything else, you're not important. You're just somewhere this is visiting, like these rhymes are visiting for a little bit. You have to remember that you're not the best writer in the room. Even if you are, you're not. And if you are the best writer in the room, you're in the wrong damn room to begin with. You should always let people wipe the floor with you. And that's how you get better. Once I got into co-writing, which was hard, man, it was awkward as hell. It was like I was 13 again. Once you get to doing it, you realize that you've been playing ping pong by yourself for several years. And you would have gotten so much better if somebody else would have hit a ball back to you. You feel a little stupid for a little bit, but your writing gets better.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right, because I've talked to some songwriters who say they co-write so much they want to get back to writing by themselves, but now they can't rhyme the word blue by themselves, because it's just you get so used to, I think, leaning on other people, but you still have that voice. So that leads me to my next question, kind of what's next for you? Like, what are are there things, obviously, it's more music and it's rooms and bigger rooms and all that, but are there other things that you want to do for yourself? Have you kind of like thought, like you mentioned teaching, but are there other things that you kind of think ahead that you want to explore and get into?
I mean, I love to write, so it doesn't matter what I'm writing, whether it's a short story or a novel, which I would assume I will never do, because I'm just not clever enough to make a plot that long. My life is in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. But I would love to write kids' books. I don't think I've ever said that to anybody. And like my friends are in here in the kitchen. I don't think I've ever said that. I would love that. Like to inspire kids to pick something up and bang on it, whether it's a decanter or a banjo or a maraca or just to be hopeful. I writing kids books. I mean, if I could be an author of anything, that's what I'd do.
Maybe short stories. I mean, if you don't have the.
I mean, I'm pretty funny in short spurts, so I think short stories might be the way to go.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for taking some time to do this with us. We appreciate it. We're very happy for all your success. Obviously, we wish you very well in the upcoming Grammy Awards, and you're going to play for us too. Actually, a little bit too. There's going to be some songs, so everybody stay tuned for that. That's going to be coming up. But thanks again, Ashley. Really appreciate it. It's great to meet you, even if it's virtually, and hopefully, in the not so distant future in person.
It's great to talk to somebody that's not my dog. I've got to be honest. It's good to have intelligent conversations.
Hey, I'm only a slight step up, but nonetheless, it's not too bad.
Look at him, man. He's just.
That's
out.
Opie.
He's completely unimpressed. Optimus Prime is asleep.
Very nice. That's going to be me in 5 minutes, so don't worry. It will be. I'll be just the same. Well, thanks again, Ashley. Really appreciate it. Good luck, and we'll see you again soon, I hope.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Behind the Songs. Until next time, I'm your host, Mark Conklin, encouraging you, as always, to make music and make a difference. And we'll see you again.
He had a southern drawl like a red-bone hound. Every song he sang was my favorite sound. He'd be the last one off if the ship went down. The kind of man it feels good to be around. The kind of man it feels good to be around. He had hair as white as a cotton field, and he'd spin you a story like a wagon wheel. He never went nowhere without a rod and reel. Lord, I miss that man, I always will. I miss that man, and I always will. He'd see through a lie like an old screen door. Taught me how to hunt and how to love the Lord. Carried a Bible and a 44, and they just don't make them like that no more. He said, take what you've got and do the best you can. The best thing you'll ever own is a piece of land. Y'all, he knew his like the back of his hand. He was something else, my old man. He was something else, my old man. He'd see through a lie like an old screen door. Taught me how to hunt and how to love the Lord. Carried a Bible and a 44, and they just don't make them like that no more. Well, I saw him strum this thing every chance he could. He left it to me like he said he would. And if you ask me why it sounds so good, it's 'cause I'm holding more than strings and wood. I'm holding more than strings and wood. You'd see through a lie like an old screen door. Taught me how to hunt and how to love the Lord. He carried a Bible and a 44, and they just don't make them like that no more. No, they just don't make them like that no more. Telephones and postcards called you from the lobby bar on Tuesday. How's the opera coming up? Boy, I wish I had me some. Save me a plate. Yeah, I've been sleeping alright. I'll get a couple days in July. Kiss Dad from me, I love you both. Good night. Sparrow, oh, you wouldn't trade nothing for the way it feels to fly. You sat as still as one at the dinner table, with nothing to say after grace. You were hard as one because you had to be. Yeah, the oldest ones, it turned out that way. And if I had me one, for every time you've let me down, I'd build a wall. And I guess I did. You taught me all about them, which ones sink and which ones skip. But there's throwing ones and rolling ones, and getting us to open up was like getting blood from one. The stepping kind, the steady kind, the hey, I've got your back ones you can stand behind. I'm just now finding out now that you're gone, that we were cut from the same stone. I sway like you when I get nervous. I'm shy like you, but most folks couldn't tell. I get the same shade of red as you did when I'm angry. I'm red right now because I'm mad as hell at the throwing ones and the rolling ones. That getting us to open up was like getting blood from one. The stepping kind, the steady kind, the hey, I've got your back ones you can stand behind. I'm just now finding out now that you're gone, that we were cut from the same stone. Yeah, there's a lot of things that should be written in one, but your name, it ain't one of them, so I carry one. It's a heavy one. Oh, I'm just now finding out now that you're gone, that we were cut from the same stone, the same stone.